Oh, the harps. Oh! Eh. How's everyone tonight? Oh, what a rocking week it's been. My name's Quinlan. Welcome to Melbourne Musos Facechook Live. Let me put a smile on your dial. Hello, camera 1, 2, and 3. Mwah. There you go. Like I always do, the 3-camera shoot will be up probably tomorrow with a little bit of the old blue screen and a couple of inserts and all this other stuff. But what I'd like to do tonight is really try and do a little bit of a happy show. I made a great happy show last week, all about barbarians and everything, Vikings. And then it all turned to rubbish, as we know. I won't dwell on it, but, you know, dear Taylor Hawkins passing away, and, you know, I've just had Foo Fighters on a week. Simple as that. But I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm going to dwell on about technique, drumming, you know, different things. What I'd like to do tonight is actually talk about breathing and flow. Hello, flow. Here you go. Posture. Resolution points. And on it goes. One thing, I wonder if some of you people, good people out there, know a little thing called the Alexander technique. And I have the book. I've had this book for many, many years, and I flick through it and all sorts of things like that. But to save a little bit of time, what I'd like to do is actually give you a quick introduction to the Alexander technique, and then the rest of the night should flow into that. Hello, flow. The Alexander technique, named after its developer, Frederick Matthias Alexander, 1869 to 1955, is a popular type of alternative therapy based on the idea that poor posture gives rise to a range of health problems. Alexander began developing his techniques principles in the 1890s in an attempt to address his own voice loss during public speaking. He credited his method with allowing him to pursue his passion for performing Shakespearean recitations, like I'm about to do a bit of drumming recitations for you there. So what goes on, it's if I'm going to be a little bit of a student of it rather than a teacher of it, it's about flow, it's about posture, it's about getting doing things like when I set the big ass Doris up and knowing what to do, where to put things, you know, and have everything. Because I've, you know, sometimes what happens is, you know, like we all know sometimes our equipment holds us back or whatever, you know, sort of thing. I could crap on about share kits and stuff, you know, or whatever, but it's not, this isn't going to be the kind of show where I'm going to go, you know, whatever for that. This is drumming and how to get an even flow, how to breathe. One of the things that you want to be able to do is make sure you breathe smoothly while you're playing. So if I'm going to play a little ditty, an improvisation, which I'll be talking about too, you notice I can talk evenly by breathing. Yes. So I'm just breathing and talking to you. And I can make it a flow. You do a flow. I've got another book. I put it on the show a little while ago, like a decade ago. And it's a book called Flow. And it was suggested to me by a Melbourne University professor who was visiting, well, he's Canadian, and then he was visiting Melbourne University when I was doing a little bit of, you know, I was in, you know, in that. And what it was, he said, you need that book Flow by my friend Mikhail Alphabet. It's like Mary or whatever it was. Oh, pardon me. And it's a book called Flow. And I read it and I went, yes. And I put it on the show. I read snippets from it like a long time ago. And but that's not the book I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Alexander Technique and this little book here. And what I'd like to do is just talk about breathing. I've talked about it already, okay? So it's not like you're sort of doing, if I'm going to do a rock beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Sounds like a bit constipated, mate. You need to get a little bit more foliage into your diet. And yes, you know. But what goes on is that when you're playing, you just want to breathe evenly. And that's what goes on. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing that I'd like to talk about is a thing called resolution points. Now, when we're actually dealing with this kind of playing, there's a resolution point. If you're just going to talk about it, you're going to play a song in 4/4. Well, your resolution point is often just 1, you know. Last week I was talking about the fact that one of the little things that Taylor Hawkins did, and he got it from dear Phil Collins, who's also in a bit of trouble, you know, it's singing on stage in a wheelchair or on a chair, and very sad. And they've just only, Genesis has only just played their final concert ever, and you can see why, you know, that kind of thing. But I'll get into that in a minute. But what happens is that Taylor Hawkins did the thing where it came, you know, syncopation for and 2, this, and that was the resolution point for certain things. Oop, bang! It felt like you're going up, bang. But I did that last show. What happens is when let's just take a paradiddle, right, left, right, left, left. And what I want to do, I'm going to leave those patches in tonight because I just want to make it musical as much as I can. Now, when you first do it, right, left, left, first lesson ever, what the hell do I need this for? The bloody paradiddles. When you can stop talking, crapping on about them. But what happens is as you build it up, what you start to see is a right, left, just a nice, ordinary flow. Now, get up off the couch, put your beer down, and walk across the room. Are you walking like that? No, you're walking like this, aren't you? Okay, so what happened? It was the Swiss Army about a millennia ago, around about, some people say round about 800 AD. Mercenary soldiers who were using the drums to send signals across the battlefield, tell their soldiers where to go or whether they're getting ambushed or run away or whatever it is. And the paradiddle became the flow, just like we're marching, you see. So what starts to happen is you get that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you've got there is essentially this flow of just right, left. And then what happens then is as you build that up, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Take your back beat. Wait! Whoa! What happens there is you can see that my left hand is putting the rim shot in on 2 and 4 with a mallet. Oh, Chris, what are you doing? Sacrilege! You've still got a backbeat happening, and what's going on is that you're actually creating a kind of a percussive melody there. And that's what you have. And that is a resolution point because you've got your right to left, you see. So when you're playing things like this is what keeps you balanced. You've got your right. Now what happens is there's a thing that's been around for a long, long time. It's a little bit obscure. I don't see it taught too much, and it's not mine. It's not me, or anything like that. I wear my influences on my sleeve. If I get this lick from Barry Barlow of Jethro Tull, oh my Lord, what a drummer he was. I'll tell you, that's my job. It's not me, or reinventing the wheel, you know, kind of, oh yeah, pull technique. Get off the grass. What happens is that when you get all these different kinds of techniques, but you wrap them into a cohesive whole which suits yourself. What I do suits me. If I can pass a few things on, that's, you know, hopefully you can pick a few things up, you know, that sort of stuff. Buy me a beer one day. Anyway, so what goes on is that when you're dealing with resolution points, breathing, all this sort of business, you can start to get this kind of right side, left side. And as I was going to say before, one thing that's not taught that often is a thing called the coordination grid. It really is just common sense to a certain degree. Because if you just draw a square, the top line of the square is your hands. The bottom line of the square is your feet. And then you've got your right side, and then you've got your left side. So, you know, if you're going to do, say, a single stroke roll, well, here's your top part, the hands. Bottom part, feet. Then you got your right side, left side. This is the left pedal. I'll do it with the hi-hat so you know. See, there you go. And then you've got diagonals, you see, because you can have a right hand and a left foot. Then a left hand and a right foot. And then you do it all left hand start. Hey, you'll be there forever, mate. And there you go. But what happens is you take it on board, and next thing you know, you've got a way of practicing through your business. But go with your own flow, okay? You're not going to be there religiously playing every single one. You'll be there forever. Play songs. You know, just let it go. And then you'll find a certain kind of... Sing! Maybe not. Thumbelina, tiny little thing. Hi-hat is kind of a resolution point, you see. You get that kind of thing. So what starts to happen is this is also a place where you can put in all sorts of different business. You can put in polyrhythmic playing and stuff. I could do, let's say I straddle my left thing. I might just take the marimba out, the African marimba. And what I'll do is I'll just, there's that. It's a triplet, left, right, left. So left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a right, left, right, left. 4 against 3 polyrhythm. There's the common denominator method for polyrhythms where you multiply the two numbers together. So if it's 4 against 3, 4 times 3 is 12. So you count to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. And you do it. But then what happens at some point, your tongue falls out, runs across the room, and goes home with the bass player. And what happens is that there's a point where somehow you've got to try and play it with aplomb, with posture, and all this stuff. So what starts to happen is you've got the resolution point, you see. So what happens is if I'm going to sit on a 4 against 3, what happens is I might have 3 with the right hand. Now, accent. And 4. There you have it. And what starts to happen there is you're using what's known as the whip stroke in the molar technique kind of deal, Sanford molar, which I've talked about many, many times. I talked about it earlier this year with all the books that I put up there on the blue screen. So I won't, you know, they're all connected, but I do try to make different shows. So, So what we're starting to do is talk about different ways of connecting and being smooth with our connections. I'm going to go to the book I have now. I've given you a quick overview of the Alexander technique. Now, I am saying straight up, I am a student of it. I am not a teacher of it. But there's a few teachers around town. Alexander technique is much loved in the classical world, such as opera. You know, you've got the opera singer doing the death song. She's on the, she's on the bench or something like that, and she's like that. And one of the things about the Alexander technique is that wherever you are and whatever position you're in, you find a clear path for breathing. So you could have someone like doing that, but if you have a close look at the neck and they're still breathing, it's not like all choked like that, You sort of, there it is, oh, there's the death scene, this is my big moment, sort of thing. And that's what goes on. So I've had this book for a long time, 20-something years. But here is performance strategy, which I will read to you. Preparation, action, recovery, inhibition and direction. Observe the manner of preparation. Accept that impulses can be counterproductive. Stop to establish a readiness and openness and willingness to communicate. Yes. The desire to perform. Identify the wish to perform. The character's need or purpose. My character is being a dipshit drummer. I know you were thinking that. The character's need or purpose. This will elevate your energy level. Increase lengthening and widening. Breathe out. Like that. Use your diaphragm. Anticipation. Think about the performance. Continue to give preventive directions. When I go, I will not disturb my neck any more than necessary. There it is. That's what I'm talking about. Posture. Go means go. Give up trying to get it right. No, my way or the highway shit. And allow things to happen. Accept the unknown. Open to the unexpected. That's it. That's what improvisation is all about. You just let it go. That's what it is. I meant that. Art Blakey was a great one, the great jazz drummer. If you've got to make a mistake, make it loud. One little trick is if you just do something, you get one little beat wrong in the first verse, a little trick is do the same thing in the second verse. That means people know you must have meant it. I meant that. I do it all the time. Return to stillness. Inhibit and direct to re-establish full stature. Reflect on the performance and ask the questions. Did I stiffen my neck and pull my head back any more than I needed to? Did I end gain? Did I do unnecessarily? Did I force my responses? Or were they true to the moment? There you go. Do not try too hard. Return to stillness and allow things to happen. You see, what I do is I just sort of have notes. I pick a title. When Friday, I'm almost incommunicado, preparing the show, working on something. Something comes to me very quickly or something pops up even through the day. And that's what I go with. Sometimes other shows might be 2 or 3 weeks preparation because it might be a bit tricky or something like that, or have to prepare things. But what goes on is once you go with the flow, you start to work out a couple of things that you can do. Now, first I'll talk about equipment. Okay. I am a bit of a Telecaster tragic when it comes to guitars. And I just love, I've got a Telecaster there. You've seen it on the show in the past. I've had it since the early 80s. And I love it. And I put it on my lap and I put my arms up and it's just beautifully balanced. The little cutaway down the bottom, Telecaster, burnt, beautiful. I love it dearly, that guitar. And what goes on with that is the same thing happens with the drum kit. Now, one of the things I tell my students when they're setting up, because sometimes, especially with online lessons over the last 2 COVID years, It's a bit of a strange thing that I'm getting more COVID cancellations now than I did the whole first 2 years of COVID. It's not going away by any stretch. So, but still, I'll keep on going with this. I'll stay on track. But what happens is that one of the things I peer into the electronic kit or the little drum kit in the corner when I'm going online. And I'm going, you're going to need to fix the snare drum. That cymbal over there needs to be here. You need to come up about a foot. You know, you can't drum while you're down here on a pillow. You know, sort of the old dragsters. Remember that in the early 70s, the big handlebar. You know, I used to walk around like that all day. And the early 70s. Anyway, but what happens is you get it set up. And one of the things I tell my students is put your hands out and clap. Slap your hands together. Thank you. And then draw a semicircle in the air. And if you have a look at Big Ass Doris here, who I also love dearly, I've had this beautiful kit since 1997. Thank you to Paul Mosum of Tom Tom Trading Company back in the day. If you're watching, Paul, give me a call, will you? I need to have a beer with you. There you go. So you see that? Now what happens is when I pick up the sticks, or in this case the mallets, they're an extension of my hand. So what goes on? There it is. I don't have to go like that. And when I'm playing over here, it's not like I'm going to do anything like that. I used to call it, I'm not going to do the Shane Warne flipper. I'm not sure if I can still say that. I think I can with love and respect of someone who was the epitome of what I'm talking about tonight. You know, just flow and what he could do with the ball, you know. And then what I'm trying to pass on now is what you can do, well, the drums, and then, seeing I mentioned the Telecaster, what you can do with the guitar or anything. There's whole sections on orchestra here. And one of the main things of that is just make the stick an extension of your arm. So, you know, if I go down the barrel, it's straight. You don't really want it like that. So I'm always on my students' case about hold the stick the right way, you know, that kind of thing, please. And then what happens is there's also, you've got your coordination going around the drums. What usually happens is when you're doing things like paradiddles and I call that vertical coordination. But when you're starting to go around drums, all that stuff, what starts to happen is that it's horizontal coordination, the Kath and Kim version. Horizontal Irish dancing. I've said that before. It's an old joke, but I love it. I'm going to say it again. There you go. And you work for it, then it works for you. Because what happens is if I'm going to put the triggers on, and if I'm going to use the African marimba here, and then put in a Lydian mode, okay, I have to set it all up, and then I have to play it. So now, what I do around the toms is still improvisation, but it's not exactly random because I'm playing a melody. You see, that's what goes on, even though it's an improvised melody. I'll give you two instances of that too. What happens is Frank Zappa, that's why I wore the t-shirt again today. It is my favourite t-shirt. There you go. But he put out a thing in the 1980s. Oh, he didn't really put it out. Let me explain the story. What happened was a young Steve Vai joined the Zappa crew, but not initially as one of the band. He was the transcriber. He was brilliant at transcribing things. And that's how the Frank Zappa guitar book came around, simply because of Steve Vai. Oh, I've got a kid here. And at the time, it was $10 a page. I was in the late 70s. That's when you do your research. Yep, I paid him $10 a page. And what would happen is that Zappa got this great idea. He said, well, seeing I've got this kid who's incredible at transcribing and an incredible guitarist, of course, as we all know, what he did was got Steve Vai to transcribe some of his guitar solos, his favourite ones. He'd go, yeah, I like that one. Nah, that was rubbish. That one. Frank Zappa was also very self-critical. Nah, with one guitar he got asked, he said, I got it right twice in the whole tour for that guitar. It stayed out of tune the whole time, that kind of thing. And but what it was one of the solos he particularly liked. So we got Steve. This is all pre-computers and things, of course. It's late 70s stuff, so we don't have Sibelius and all the, you play it and it just bobs up on the screen. It was long before that. But what he got Steve Vai to do was transcribe one of his solos, and then Zappa took it away, and then it became a movement of his classical piece, The Sinister Footwear, which is it's sort of spread out on different albums. There's one little bit of it on the You Are What You Is album, and another one on another little section of it on the Them or Us album, and then what goes on is that he'd get the band to play it. He'd orchestrate it. And it all came from Steve Vai doing a transcription, you see. So he just went through if you go all the way back to the beginnings, it was just a Frank Zappa guitar solo that he particularly liked. He transcribed it and went with it. That's the thing, a beautiful flow. The other thing I want to bring up is Mr. Mozart. One of the things about Mozart in the day when they're finding diaries of different people who worked with him, like the orchestra master, sort of thing, or whatever, the head, first violinist, all this stuff, is you start to find out little snippets about Mozart. And Mozart was quite prolific. He wrote so many symphonies and everything. He just kept writing. He passed away at 32. I just got one more note, like that, off he goes. But the thing about that is that one of the violinists it's in his diaries, they found his diaries or something, Maestro Mozart. He's there I'm looking at him and he's doing his piano concerto and he's playing incredibly brilliantly and fluid. Everything's fantastic. He's sitting there going like, like that, fantastic. He was a bit of a lair, the old Mozart, the old Amadeus, and didn't mind a bit of a editing cordial. And what would happen with the piano concertos, of course, you get to the big cadenza where it's the big, whoa, you beaut piano solo. And so, Hans was going, oh yeah, I'll have a bit of a rest. And he looked across, and Mozart's staring at a blank page. He put it all on. It was just like, oh yeah, I'll give them what they want. There you go. There it is. And that's the flow, you see. Improvisation, even in... you can put it anywhere. And then you can still just keep going and still have your flow with whatever you want to do. And what goes on then is you just flow your way through it. The other one is a great drum teacher, now sadly passed away, but he was a bit of a teacher to the stars, Gary Chester. And he had his book, The New Breed, and then New Breed 2. And it was just patterns. You go through the patterns, and, like what Terry Bozzio does, you get an ostinato pattern. And so, but what Gary Chester did, instead of being, let's say, Terry Bozzio makes a complete composition of it, but this is really what Gary Chester would do. Would take, seeing I'm going to do continuity, I'll do a paradiddle, right? And you'd have all these little patterns. So you build up like the paradiddle, or you build up even just normal rock, but only with mallets and triggers, so it sounds a bit different. But what goes on then is you have this way of putting it all together, you see, once you've got something on automatic. And that's where the resolution points come in. So, Paradiddle I'm talking about tonight, and then you do it to anything you want. So, I better start wrapping the show up. I'm at half an hour, but I've still got one thing that I want to play to you. It's been such a while since I've told you a story. I'm going to do a story. And one of the things that's, like I said, it's been a pretty shitty week. One of the things the old budget's come down this week, and there are more cuts to music and the arts, phasing it out to nothing, to nil, okay? It gets on my goat, and of course some of you out there might read some of the things I put up on Facebook. Don't hate me, whatever, but it is. I mean, we've all got to pull together here. It's being decimated, and I'm on record for what I do on Facebook. I'm not going to bring it up here. But honestly, I mean, like Peter Harcher said, the very well-known journalist for The Age, it's a Tinkerbell budget. And I'm going to finish off with this.
This is the Tinkerbell story.
Yes.
It was a special day in Pixie Hollow. All the fairies gathered around. With a sprinkling of pixie dust, a new fairy was born. Her name was Tinkerbell. Queen Clarion welcomed the newest fairy and said, "Born of laughter, clothed in cheer, happiness has brought you here." The fairies tried to help Tinkerbell find her talent. They gave her flowers, water and light, but everything Tinkerbell touched faded away. Then Tinkerbell was passed a hammer. It began to glow. It flew straight toward her, and she had found her talent. She was a head kicker for the Liberal government. She was a Tinker Fairy. The Tinker Fairies came to welcome Tinkerbell. Tink was happy to meet them. She was also a bit sad. Tinkers were not fancy like the other fairies. Tink's new friends, Scotty and Joshy, took her on a tour of Pixie Hollow. They saw all the fairies getting ready for spring. "It's the changing of the seasons," explained Joshy, "and the looming election." There was a lot going on at Tinker's Nook. Tinkerbell loved seeing all the useful things the Tinker Fairies made and all the false promises they did on budget night. Fairy Mary was the head tinker. She told Scotty and Joshy to deliver their creations to the rest of the fairies fast. They would need the items for their pork barrel.
The pork barrel.
The pork barrel sounds flitterific, cried Tinkerbell. The Tinker Fairies showed the Queen what they had made. One of Tinkerbell's creations still needed some work. Tink would fix it in time to take it with her to the pork barrel. The Queen told Tink that Tinker Fairies did not go to the pork barrel. "Your work is here in Pixie Hollow," Queen Clarion said. "Being a tinker stinks," said Tinkerbell back at Tinker's Nook. Fairy Mary told her that she would be proud of who she was. But Tinkerbell did not want to be a tinker. She wanted to be a nature fairy. She asked her friends for help. At first, Silver Pissed tried to teach Tink how to be a water fairy. But Tink was not good with water. Then, the little fairy Dutton tried to teach Tink how to be a light fairy. But Tinkerbell was not good with light or tanks. Fawn tried to show Tink how to be an animal fairy. But Tinkerbell was not good with animals either, only coal. Tink saw a big bird flying in the sky. "Maybe that guy can help," she said. The bird made a nosedive for Tink. "Hawk! Alex Hawk!" yelled the fairies as they ran for cover. Tink jumped into a hole to hide. The budget hole, the deficit hole was Vidia's hiding spot. Now, the Alex Hawk was after Vidia too. The other fairies attacked the hawk with berries. Vidia was safe, but she was angry. Tinkerbell tried to help her clean up, but she didn't want Tinkerbell's help. Tinkerbell felt horrible. She couldn't hold drops of water. She couldn't hold rays of light, and baby birds were scared of her.
Couldn't hold a hose, mate.
Useless, she said. Tinkerbell flew to the beach, the Hawaiian beach. She wanted to be alone. There she spotted a broken music box. Tinkerbell quickly got to work. Her friends watched. "You fixed it," Silver-Pissed cried. They were all amazed at her tinkering talent. Tinkerbell enjoyed tinkering, but she still wanted to go to the pork barrel. At her last hope, Tink went to Vidia for help, but Vidia was still angry with her. Vidia got an evil idea. She said Tink should capture the biggest dickus to prove she was a garden fairy. Well, it was a dangerous job, but Tink had to try. It was her last chance. She made a corral and a lasso to capture the biggest dickus, and the swinging voters, and the mercenary voters, and all the dirty bastards in between. She saddled up Cheese, the mouse, and was on her way. "It's working!" cried Tinkerbell. Biggest dickus went into the corral, but then Vidia blew a strong gust of wind. The corral gate flew open. Biggest dickus ran out. Hundreds of other biggest dickus ran by too. All the donkey voters. Tinkerbell lost control of them. The biggest dickus ran this way and that way through Springtime Square and the voting booths. They destroyed all the springtime supplies and everything that was given to them in the Tinkerbell budget. Everyone was upset. Spring would have to be cancelled. It was all Tinkerbell's fault. She flew away in shame. Tinkerbell decided to leave Pixie Hollow for good, but she stopped one last time at the Tinker's workshop. As she looked around, she got an idea. She knew how to save the election and spring. Back at Springtime Square, Vidia was punished for helping the biggest dickus escape, and everyone was sad that spring wouldn't be coming. "Wait! I know how we can fix everything, but I can't do it alone," Tinkerbell cried. The fairies were eager to help. Tinkerbell showed everyone what to do. In the blink of an eye, Tinkerbell's creations filled buckets with berry paints and seeds and voting cards and slips and little pork barrels to give for car parks and little Hawaiian holidays. Soon everything was ready for spring. "You did it! You saved spring!" exclaimed Queen Clarion. "We all did it," said Tinkerbell. Fairy Mary told Tinkerbell she could go to the pork barrel too. The music box Tinkerbell had fixed belonged to a special little girl, and only Tinkerbell could deliver it to her. Tinkerbell was happy. Her tinkerings had saved the spring. She was a Tinker Fairy and proud of it. And then she took the little music box, wound it up, and it did this.
Oh!
If you're happy and you know it, slap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, slap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, slap your hands.
Hey!
If you're happy and you know it,
Hey! Good night, everyone!
if you're happy and you know it, slap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, slap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, slap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, slap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, slap your hands.